You are listening to Kayo Conversations, a podcast about anything and everything that matters to Chi Omegas.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Harrington, CEO for Chi Omega. We are joined today by Kristine Brucal, a junior at the University of Louisville and a pre-med student majoring in neuroscience and minoring in exercise science. Kristine was initiated in 2020 into our Beta Gamma chapter and currently serves as the facilities manager. Kristine attended New York Fashion Week as not only a model, but also a photographer. She was born in the Philippines, immigrated to the U.S. at 8 months old, and she loves capturing anything behind the lens, often filming weddings and taking portraits as a side hustle and hobby. Well, Kristine, I have to say you are our first model to podcast with us, and we couldn't be more excited to have you. Thank you for saying yes.
Thanks for having me. This is super exciting. I'm looking forward to getting to chat with you today. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, you are more than welcome. Same here. Tell us first, what was your initial impression of Chi Omega at Louisville, and why did you choose so wisely?
So I chose U of L because after my family and I immigrated from the Philippines, we settled in Eastern Kentucky. And Eastern Kentucky, very rural community, very small, but we do have pretty mountains, so I'll give it that. So when choosing U of L and then further choosing a sorority to join, I definitely wanted the diversity aspect that I didn't get growing up. So yeah, diversity was something I valued a lot. And actually, when I came to U of L, this is really funny because I had no intentions of joining a sorority. I came in the year 2020, as we all know, COVID. My whole rush process was online. But I feel like, honestly, if it wasn't online, I feel like I wouldn't have rushed anyways. So in a way, I'm very grateful that it was online that year. My suite mates were the ones that encouraged me at the time to rush. Because like I said, that was something I never saw myself doing. And because it was online, I was like, might as well give it a try. So I did. And Kayo was the very first first sorority I talked to. And honestly, it was love at first sight. All the conversations I had with everyone were honestly so genuine. And the rest is history. So, yeah.
Well, it's a pretty good history so far. What did your parents or your family think about you going through the recruitment process and joining a sorority?
So I didn't really tell my parents until after I accepted the bid. But they were really familiar with Greek life because, like I said, we are immigrants of the Philippines, and that's just not something they have down there. So they definitely did have some questions about it, but luckily I was able to answer most of them. But I basically explained it in a way that it's basically a networking opportunity, and not only a networking opportunity, but also a way to establish connections within the university.
Well, you must have done an excellent job persuading them, and your experience sounds like it's been pretty good so far. What about Beta Gamma will you miss the most when you graduate?
I don't want to think about graduating, but unfortunately, honestly, Beta Gamma has given me so much within the past 2 years, and just thinking about leaving in a couple more, I just don't want to think about it. But I think what I will miss the most is definitely living in the house. I live in the house right now, and just having that immediate support system, whether that be like a sister cooking in the kitchen or hanging out, studying in the study room. It's like whenever I feel like I need someone or need something, I know someone is a floor below me, just willing to talk to me and whatever I have to talk to. So yeah, I think what I'll miss the most is just having that immediate support system, even though I know the support system I have now is definitely like a lifelong thing.
It is. I'm sure it's difficult to find alone time in that house that you are in right now. But it is such a blessing to be surrounded by sisterhood, whether you want it or not. Sometimes it is. Sometimes when you least expect it is when you need it the most. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah. Well, you were not only chosen to walk at New York Fashion Week, but also to be a photographer. So, what was that process, and how did you get that opportunity?
Yeah. So looking back, it honestly kind of just all happened on a whim. But I definitely would have to credit my sister and my mom. So my mom is a physical therapist, but on the side, she has always loved designing things, including clothes. So this was kind of a hobby of hers for a few years now. And I guess it all started when I was in high school. And that was when she started getting into designing clothes and all that jazz. And it was really cool because she would just like draw out different designs on paper. And then she has a friend back home in the Philippines where like she would send the designs over to her. Her friend in the Philippines would come up with a product and then send it back. So yeah, especially in high school, especially when I had like dances and homecoming and prom or just any type of event where I needed a dress, I would just let my mom know and she would whip up something real quick, send the design over via like text message. And then a couple of weeks later, we would have like an actual product of the dress. So that's where all that started. And then my little sister, where she comes into play, she was big into pageants a couple years back. And eventually she found her way at New York Fashion Week modeling for a kids designer at like a small runway. So yeah, that year my mom, my sister, and I all took a girls trip to New York. And my mom, being the bubbly, networky person she is, found her way, made some connections. And fast forward to this past February, we were able to return as a designer, which was really cool. And naturally, since I, wanted to tag along, I also modeled for her and her line, as well as another friend of hers from the Philippines who's also a designer. So yeah, it was really cool having that opportunity. And I was able to photograph a couple of models as well in my time there.
Well, multitasking, and it seems like this runs in the family for you, Brucal. I mean, your sister, your mother, and you all have an eye for design, and you're all models in your own right. And I know that New York Fashion Week is invite only, like it's super exclusive. So what was your reaction when you found out you were going to model when you got that news?
Yeah, honestly, I was like, well, the opportunity came about me and I was like, I don't think that's for me. Like at the time in my head,
pretty intimidating.
Model, yeah. But like when I thought of a model, I was thinking that like very tall. And yeah, I am nowhere near tall. I'm literally like 5 feet. So in my head, I was like, I don't know if I'm like fit for this. Like, Mom, I'm sure you can find other people to wear your clothes. But as moms do, she convinced me and got me to walk. And yeah, like I said, the rest is history.
Well, what a remarkable opportunity for your whole family, really. And I have to ask you, aside from fashion, what other attributes do you feel are important for you to model for other women? How did your Chi Omega sisters support you during New York Fashion Week? Did you hear from them at all?
Oh, I definitely did. My phone was blowing up the whole time. If it's anything about my chapter, though, they are the most supportive women I've ever come across. Even as little as, going downstairs and making breakfast in the morning. They're like, oh my gosh, Kristine, you're like such a good cook. Literally in the littlest task, they'll, just shower me with so much love. But yeah, especially during New York Fashion Week, they would repost my Instagram posts. They would, just send me lots of texts and messages of love. And yeah, it was just really great knowing I was supported especially in New York Fashion Week, something I never saw myself doing in the first place.
Well, it makes all the difference when it comes to confidence, right? You feel a little more confident walking out there with your sisters behind you. And you were born in the Philippines, and your family immigrated to the United States when you were just 8 months old. And tell us about your family. Who among them is your biggest supporter, maybe other than your mom? Because we know that she's been a cheerleader all along.
Yeah. So my family is my mom, my dad, and then I have two younger siblings, my sister, who I talked about earlier, and then my younger brother. Out of the four, and besides my mom and besides my sister, okay, now I feel like I'm just choosing favorites. But my brother has also been a really big inspiration to me. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when he was younger. And yeah, just seeing how my family has just like grown from that has been really cool. We've been like just within like different virtues like patience, and yeah, just learning how to communicate in non-traditional ways than what maybe outside people are used to, has just been like a really good growing experience for us. And now he is going to be 16 next month, and just seeing back to like the authenticity, how he can just be himself, and still be loved by everyone around him, has been really cool to see. And that also, I guess, back to my neuroscience interest, that is also a big factor of why I chose to study neuroscience.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And, you know, you mentioned that diversity was really important to you in joining Chi Omega, and that diversity it also means unique lived experiences, right? So you have a unique lived experience with your brother also being from the Philippines. How did you see or feel that diversity when joining Chi Omega? And, you know, how did they make you feel welcome?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky where, growing up, it wasn't like I saw many people like in my classroom that looked like me. I was typically the only person of color in most instances. So coming to U of L, that was like a big shock to me. Like there's so many people here. And especially in Chi Omega, I not only felt seen and represented, but I also felt celebrated, because when I would talk about my experiences, just like the intentional listening was there especially within recruitment. I just definitely felt seen and heard when talking to, just the whole chapter.
Well, I hope that they continue to make you feel welcome. I know they do. And you probably are doing your part to make people feel welcome being facilities manager, right?
Yeah, it's a fun job.
It's not an easy job. I know that to be true. How do you think your life would be different if you didn't join Chi Omega?
I think about this all the time because, like I said, this wasn't something I expected to do in college. But looking back, this has been one of the biggest influencers of my college experience. A lot of things I'm involved in addition to Chi Omega, is because of the sisters who connected me to different organizations. So I definitely wouldn't be as involved on campus. And college is hard. You go through a lot during your college career. And looking back, I don't think I could have gotten through a lot of things if it wasn't for this chapter. So yeah, just I can't imagine my college experience without the network of like support that Beta Gamma has given me. So that's definitely something I hold very dearly to my heart. And yeah, it definitely would have been different in a lot of ways, but I'm glad that's not the case.
You couldn't be more right. College is really hard some days, and sisters make it a tiny bit easier. And what's been super easy is this conversation. You are a joy and a delight to talk to, and you've been a model guest, and I've loved sharing time with you. You are modeling far more than just on that runway. You are modeling what it means to be a sister on purpose, Kristine.
I appreciate it so much. Just at a loss for words. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. I've enjoyed being here and enjoyed talking to you, Leslie. So thank you.
Well, we enjoyed it just as much. Likewise. And thank you to everyone listening today. Stay tuned for more Kyo Conversations coming your way. Also, if you have any podcast ideas or podcast guests you'd like to hear from in our next broadcast, let us know. Just email us at kayomega@kayomega.com. Keep an eye on our social media channels so you can be sure to join us next time, and be sure to catch all of our past episodes on kayomega.com. Thank you.